Many thanks for staying with us here on Channels Television. A warm welcome to you. You're watching the news at 5. I'm Ayotunde Balogun. The federal government has formally charged former Kaduna State Governor Nasir El-Rufai with 3 counts related to the alleged interception of communications belonging to Nigeria's National Security Advisor, Mr. Nuhu Ribadu. Last week, in a televised interview, Mr. El-Rufai admitted that he and other unnamed individuals had listened to conversations from Mr. Ribadu's phone, which had been tapped by a third party. While acknowledging the act was technically illegal, he claimed that such surveillance was not uncommon. Despite this, the Department of State Services has arraigned Mr. El-Rufai before the Federal High Court in Abuja. The charge sheet obtained by Channels Television states that on February the 13th this year, during an appearance on a TV primetime program, Malam El-Rufai admitted that he and his associates unlawfully intercepted the NSA's phone communications. The document reads, quote, that you, Malam Nasir El-Rufai, adult male, on 13th February 2026, while appearing as a guest on Arise TV's primetime program in Abuja, within the jurisdiction of this court, did admit during the interview that you and your cohorts unlawfully intercepted the phone communications of the National Security Advisor, Nuhu Ribadu, and thereby committed an offense contrary to and punishable under Section 12(1) of the Cybercrimes Prohibition, Prevention, etc. Amendment Act 2024. End of quote. The case is now before the court as the government seeks legal redress for the alleged cybercrime. Members of the Miyetti Allah Cattle Breeders Association of Nigeria have raised serious concerns about the bill before the United States Congress, which is titled H.R. 7457, Nigeria Religious Freedom and Accountability Act of 2026, describing it as legally unjust and dangerously simplistic. Addressing journalists in Abuja, members of the association reject the proposed legislation, maintaining that associating its members with terrorists and mass atrocities in Nigeria is both unfounded and injurious to the integrity of a duly registered national association. A president of the association, Mr. Othman Gelzama, urges the President of the Senate and Speaker of the House of Representatives to urgently initiate a diplomatic channel of engagement with the United States lawmakers to correct what they describe as false insinuations.
While we acknowledge the sovereignty right of the United States to deliberate on matters relating to religious freedom and human rights, we are deeply concerned that the emerging narrative surrounding this bill have increasingly sought to associate MAGBAN, a lawful Nigerian association, with terrorism and mass atrocities. We categorically reject such insinuations as false, unfounded, and injurious to the integrity of a duly registered and a national association. MAGBAN has never condoned crime in whatever ramification. We abhor banditry, terrorism, kidnapping, and cattle rustling, all forms of violence, extremism, and unequivocally reject all criminality. To conflate the alleged actions of isolated criminal individuals with a registered corporate association is not only legally unjust, but also dangerously simplistic. It is important to say that pastoralists themselves have been major victims of criminality. Armed groups and bandits have attacked our communities, rustled cattle, displaced families, assassinated leaders. MAGBAN is respectfully calling on the President of the Senate and the distinguished National Assembly to intervene legislatively to safeguard the integrity of Nigerian institutions.
Various women groups as well as civil society organizations today gathered at the National Assembly to urge lawmakers to pass the Special Seats for Women Bill. The Special Seats Bill seeks to amend the Constitution to create additional women-only legislative seats to address low female representation. Meanwhile, civil society organizations led by Action Aid Nigeria continue to press for the real-time electronic transmission of election results in the ongoing electoral reforms. Our correspondent, Daily Omoyeni, reports.
Women Women groups as well as civil society organizations gather early on Monday morning to demand the passage of the Special Seats Bill for women. The Special Seats Bill seeks to amend the Constitution to create additional women-only legislative seats to address low female representation. The bill proposes one additional seat for women in each of the 36 states and the Federal Capital Territory, in the Senate, and at least one additional seat for women per state and the FCT in the House of Representatives. This is in addition to 3 seats in each state House of Assembly.
Let's change the numbers. 4 in the Senate out of 109 is not a fair deal. Now we have, 16 for 360, and then you have 14 houses without any woman at all.
We are here to advocate for the voting of the Special Seats Bill for Women, HB 1349. We want women political participation to be a priority in Nigeria.
They also respond to the issues of increasing cost of governance.
The cost is not much. What are you look at even the cost of governance? If you look at the Senate President cars, or you look at the Speaker's cars, the Deputy Speaker, the Deputy Senate President, all of them join. They can pay the bill. So we should not talk about that. We can reduce costs in different places to be able to pay the bill.
What do we want? What are we asking?
In the same vein, some civil society organizations also pressed home their demands for the unconditional electronic transmission of election results.
On real-time electronic transmission of the results. Mandatory. Without any condition, no clause. We have the resources already. 200+ billion for technology in this next election. 1.something trillion for this year's budget for INEC. So we have the resources. No matter the hurdle we think we have, we would be able to surmount it and get our result to count.
However, the spokesperson of the House of Representatives responds to the protesters.
We've listened and we said they should trust that the joint House and Senate committee is going to act in the best interest of Nigeria. And not only that, an emergency plenary session has been convened in both the House and the Senate for tomorrow, because we are responding to the evolving issue to ensure that we are well positioned to act in the best interest of Nigerians.
The protesters are vowing to continue to make their voices heard as far as the Electoral Act amendments is concerned. Dele Omoyeni, Channels Television News.
Shari community in the Felodun local government area of Kwara State came under attack on Sunday evening, February the 15th, as armed bandits reportedly invaded the town, sparking panic among residents. Local security sources confirmed that the attackers engaged combined security forces in a fierce exchange of gunfire that lasted about 1 hour. The coordinated response is said to have successfully repelled the assailants. As of the time of filing this report, there are no confirmed cases of abduction or fatalities. Authorities are set to be monitoring the situation closely while residents remain on alert. Further updates are expected as more information becomes available. Troops of the Joint Task Force Northeast Operation Hadinkai have thwarted coordinated terrorist attacks in Pulka and Mandarigaro in Borno State. A statement signed by the Media Information Officer of Operation Hadinkai, Lieutenant Colonel Sani Uba, says in determined assaults launched late on February the 14th, terrorists sought to overrun defensive positions in both locations, but through the battle, discipline, firepower, tactical foresight and steadfast resolve, troops held their ground, inflicted heavy losses on the attackers and reaffirmed Operation Hadinkai's dominance across the theater. The statement explains that on the same night, a large group of suspected Boko Haram and ISWAP terrorists advanced from the Sambisa forest axis and launched a fierce attack on troops of Sector 1 in Pulka. But in a well-coordinated response, troops engaged the terrorists in an intense firefight, successfully containing and reversing the assault. The statement adds that although a section of the perimeter fence was briefly breached, leading to the destruction of some combat enablers and accommodation, impressively swift reinforcement with overwhelming firepower from the 26th Brigade forced the terrorists to retreat in disarray towards the Sambisa axis. The statement further adds that in a related development, troops of Sector 2 at Mandaragirao came under a coordinated multi-pronged attack by ISWAP terrorists mounted on gun trucks and motorcycles. Anticipating such action, the troops had tactically placed combat teams that decisively engaged the terrorists. Interestingly, the attack was successfully thwarted after a fierce exchange without any breach to the defense of the location. According to the statement, some gallant personnel and civilian Joint Task Force members paid the supreme price in the defense of their location, while few soldiers sustained injuries and were immediately evacuated by air components of Operation Hiding Kai and the Nigerian Army aviation platforms. The Seme Area Command of the Nigerian Customs Service has handed over 22 packages of substance tested to be cocaine to the operatives of the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, the NDLEA. The Deputy Controller General of Customs in charge of enforcement, inspection and investigation, Timi Bomodi, explains that the drugs were intercepted through credible intelligence by the Eagle Eye officers of the service.
This achievement was made possible through an intelligence-led operation. A random check on this vehicle shows a normal search on a traveler with household items and mechanical tools in the boot. But a closer look reveals 22 wraps of illicit substances. Another anti-smuggling milestone secured by the Seme Border Area Command, and the controller exposes items hidden in the bunker of the Highlander Jeep. All 22 wraps were subjected to a two-step confirmatory laboratory analysis and confirmed to be cocaine.
So as you can see, we have cocaine. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do repeat test using our chemicals to identify this cocaine.
The illicit drugs, their means of conveyance and the suspect are handed over to officials of the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency by the Deputy Controller General of Customs in charge of enforcement, inspection and investigation, who commends the professionalism displayed by officers deployed for the operation.
There is no-go area for smuggling. And I know this is the beginning, and this is kind of thing we eradicated.
This timely interception was not a matter of chance, but the direct result of actionable intelligence received and swiftly acted upon by officers and men of Seme Area Command. Their actions have once again demonstrated the Nigerian Customs Service's resolve to safeguard our borders and protect our society from the scourge of narcotic trafficking.
Phase 2 of the investigation now shifts to the NDLEA to unravel the real owners of the illicit drugs and the destination before its interception along the Seme border axis.
The executive chairman of the Nigerian Revenue Service, Zach Adedeji, says technology and human capacity development are crucial factors in the implementation of the new tax laws in the country to achieve desired development goals of the tax reform policy. Mr. Adedeji stated this while delivering the maiden convocation lecture of the Federal Polytechnic Ayede in Ogolua local government area of Oyo State. Speaking on the role of technology in implementing Nigeria's new tax laws, challenges, prospects and implications for national development, the NRS chairman said each of these challenges will be addressed with the imminent upgrading of the country's tax system for a digital environment.
Enforcement of Nigeria's new tax laws is in its second month, representing the most significant restructuring of its nation's fiscal legislation in 50 years. While public conversation often frames these changes as legal reforms, experts say it is also an incomplete picture. And as doubts continue to plague the mind of many Nigerians on the sincerity and the gains of the ongoing tax reform policy, the Nigerian Revenue Service says it will continue to create awareness among Nigerians on the expected gains of taxation. The service is exploring all relevant platforms to help people understand better, and the latest opportunity is a maiden convocation lecture at the Federal Polytechnic, Oyo State, where the executive chairman of the Nigeria Revenue Service, Zach Adedeji, speaks on the role of technology in implementing Nigeria's new tax law, challenges, prospects, and implications for national development.
Technology reduces ambiguity records action and creates trail. For individuals who have grown comfortable with opacity, this feels like exposure. For institutions that have operated with informal workaround, it feels disruptive. Resistance to technology is really about technology itself. It is about what transparency demands. This is why leadership matters. Reform cannot be delegated entirely to system or consultant. It must be owned, driven with conviction. These challenges explain why many digital reforms failed halfway, not because ideas were wrong, but because the reality were understated.
He notes that Nigeria must learn from developed economies by investing in strong technological infrastructure and building capable human capital to fully realize the policy's prospects.
Tax administration is no longer a narrow bureaucratic function. It sits at the intersection of law, economics, technology, ethics, and design. This is why this conversation belongs in our institution of higher learning, and especially in federal polytechnic environment where technical competence is not abstract but applied. Tax system today needs software developer who understand public interest, data analysts who understand fairness, lawyers who understand system, and economists who understand platform.
Chairman of the institution's governing council, Yakubu Dati, commends the NRS for leading the re-engineering of Nigeria's tax architecture and deeming it fit to bring institutions of higher learning on board on the process of integration.
The governing council remains steadfast in its commitment to providing sound policies, transparent governance, and strategic support to ensure that the Federal Polytechnic grows into a center of excellence in technology education, research, and skills development. I wish to appreciate the federal government of Nigeria for establishing this institution and for the continuous support we have received.
The students are equally encouraged to key into federal government education reforms, including the NEL Fund and other academic support initiatives.
The Institute of Pollution Studies at the River State University has commenced a scientific investigation into the quality of underground water in Port Harcourt municipality. This follows growing concerns over the proliferation of filling stations across the city.
The steady rise in the number of filling stations across Port Harcourt, the River State capital, has become a huge concern. Though serving good purposes, experts say there may be visible risks beneath the surface. Researchers at the Institute of Pollution Studies at the River State University are now investigating whether leakages from underground fuel storage tanks could be affecting groundwater quality in Port Harcourt municipality.
But there is a law, sir, in the country which says we start a filling station. Every 5 years, you must test it to see whether it is leaking. The idea is to make sure the groundwater is not contaminated. This law is more serious in the Niger Delta region, sir, because many boreholes, some by individuals, are from about just 100 meters.
To begin the study, the Institute is unveiling a geographical map showing the location of existing filling stations across the research area. The Vice-Chancellor of River State University, who performed the official launch, commends the Institute for what he describes as proactive, evidence-based research despite challenges of limited equipment.
The two items we mentioned are things that we should regard as flagship projects for the university, especially in tandem with the Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations Organization. And then when we get global attention, we don't need to come and beg oil companies here to come and patronize us. We don't need to even beg the government to come and patronize us.
Beyond guiding the water quality research, the map will also assist government agencies in planning strategic emergency responses in the event of fire outbreaks, support policy decisions on urban planning and environmental regulation in River State.
Welcome to Business News. Repel Gold and Ventures PLC says it has delivered and begun test runs for a pilot gold processing plant at its Libeli mine site, marking its transition into active mining after years of exploration and regulatory approvals. The project also supports its mining leases in Taraba State, Niger State and Osun State. The company expects commercial production to begin in May this year, with a pilot plant designed to process up to about 21,000 grams of gold per month. A large industrial scale facility is planned for late 2026 to boost output. The project is being led by an international technical team as the firm targets higher production and stronger returns for investors. The National Bureau of Statistics reports that Nigeria's capital importation surges 380% year-on-year to $6.01 billion, highlighting renewed investor interest and improved foreign exchange liquidity. According to the Bureau, the increase is driven by a combination of portfolio investments, foreign direct investment, FDI, and other inflows, signaling growing confidence in the country's investment climate after a period of subdued inflows. The NBS says sustaining this momentum requires ongoing macroeconomic stability, transparent exchange rate policies, and reforms that boost investor confidence. It also encourages investors to explore opportunities in key sectors such as agriculture, manufacturing, and infrastructure. And that's the news at 5 at this time. Many thanks for watching. I'm Ayotunde Balogun. The World Today is up next.